Historical Society on BCTV is supported in part by the Highlands at Wyomissing.
Hello and welcome to the monthly program of the Historical Society of Berks County. I'm your host, George M. Miser IX, President Emeritus of the Historical Society of Berks County. It should be noted that this program is telecast live on the first Wednesday of each month at 7. It repeats Friday at 10, Saturday at 6, and Sunday morning at 9 a.m. Welcome all to our November 2010 program. Seated to my right is Joshua Blay, Curator and Associate Director of the Historical Society of Berks County. Ah, there you are. And to my left is Beulah Boots Fair, incoming president. She's here, of the Historical Society of Berks County. And Boots, we're pleased to have you with us this evening. And to our my extreme left is Simon Bertlett, Executive Director of the Historical Society of Berks County.
Good evening.
Good evening. Simon, you're...
Well, I'd like to say that in addition to the Historical Society, the museum, the Henry Johnson Library, and the museum gift shop are open Tuesday through Saturday from 9 a.m. to 4 p.m. If you haven't been by the museum gift shop in some time, you need to really come by. We have some wonderful gift items, truly unique to Berks County, that you can't find anyplace else from the local artisans that we have here in the county. Josh is going to be showing you a few of those later on in the program. But we also have many, many different and unique items, such as works, historical works, rare and out-of-print books for those of you who are interested in the historic legacy of Berks County. So I urge all of you to come on into the gift shop. You'll have unique gifts that you can take if you're visiting somebody and you want that special gift for somebody who might not be from the county. That's the place to go. So stop by the museum gift shop.
We remind viewers that for $40 a year, you can be one of us, a member of the Historical Society of Berks County. Membership in the society includes our prize-winning quarterly magazine, The Historical Review of Berks County. Membership includes unlimited use of the museum and library. Incidentally, family memberships, all living in the same house, are only $50 a year.
And while we're on the subject of memberships, George, we remind you, those viewers at home, that Berks Community TV, BCTV, is a survivor and a tough venue and unique entity in that it's interactive. You are encouraged to call in with your questions and comments to 610-378-0426.
So why not salute BCTV for all the great shows it provides to Reading and Berks County? Send your check for $30 for a year's membership. Mail your check to BCTV, 645 Penn Street, Reading, Pennsylvania, 19601. Remember, time passes, but operating expenses never go away. As we speak, the Passing Scene Volume 18 is being printed, and point of fact, Boots, it's about 3/4 printed at this point.
Glad to hear it, John.
The cover's looking very nice. And it'll all be ready for distribution to our members and the general public at noontime on Saturday, November the 20th. So the book will be available noontime, Saturday, November the 20th. And I'll let you comment later about that talk prior.
Absolutely. What's the color this year?
Burnt umber.
Burnt umber.
Has a distinct smell. You'll enjoy it. Orders are now being taken at the Society, $48 tax included, and $55 mailed to any continental U.S. address. To reserve your copy of Volume 18, call the Historical Society at 610-375-4375. 375-4375. We remind you that there will be no reprints. Once the books have been sold, there will be no more available. There were some people last year who dragged their feet on their heels on Volume 17. And Volume 17 was gone probably by the middle of January, if not before that time. So if you're interested, and this will be a fantastic book, and I say that objectively. There are 366 photographs, one for each day of leap year. So you will be surprised at what's in this book and the astounding quality of most of the photographs. There are some extraordinary pictures. You'll get a little bit of a preview very shortly. So once they're gone, there will be no more. Boots.
Yes, George.
Welcome to our little get-together.
Okay.
You've been a member of the society for quite a number of years, back practically as long as I have.
Not quite, George. Only 45 years.
That's plenty. 45 is plenty.
That's plenty.
Boots has done some wonderful stories, some of the most intensive stories, some of the most deeply researched stories that have ever appeared in the Historical Review of Berks County. Tell us a couple of those things that you've done.
Actually, my favorite one was about Al Klein, the Al Klein paddock, and that involved the fairgrounds. Also on the artist Devlin and the artist Broder, or Ferdinand Brader.
Yeah, that Brader thing was a masterpiece.
Well, we have about 8 Braders at the Historical Society, and that led me to research, and it was fascinating. We found out he came from Austria, and he numbered his drawings. They were on brown paper. He went to the local grocery store and got the big sheets of paper and then drew the farmsteads, and he always put his picture. He was always standing in the doorway of the barn, the upper doorway. And one in Ohio, I saw at the New York Antique Show, it said he had been born in Austria, so we knew where he was born. He wasn't German. And I've written many others, George.
Well, we have those almshouse records with a lot of information about him in there.
Yes, yes, that's right. So he was at the almshouse, but
like many of the artists said, he had his own little place there to do his thing, which is extraordinary.
Yes.
Can you imagine that today?
No.
Well, the way things were run at that time.
And that's, you wonder to ask yourself the question whether they develop. I mean, these artists were allowed to develop in that scenario.
I think they did. I think they painted there.
That's right. But
the one that had a studio, he had a room of his own.
Well, they were artists when they went there.
Right.
I mean,
yeah.
you know.
Would that happen today, I wonder?
No, no, I'm sure it wouldn't.
No, I doubt that seriously. You've been a trustee.
I think it's about 30 years. I was a trustee under Terry Connor, Bruce Dietrich, and you, George. So I'm well versed in the Historical Society's affairs.
So the skids are all greased and ready to go?
The skids are greased. Yeah.
Okay. Anything that you think we should know, Boots? Anything?
Well, I think of course, I'd marry you, George, and I think everybody should be interested in your book. I use a great deal when I do research. I look up the subject, and there George has written what I need. Because the research George puts into his book is really extraordinary. It's not just a photograph reproduced, but the research is very important. So thank you, George.
You're welcome, Boots.
Right.
Should we take a little bit of a break and look at some pictures? And by all means, feel free to to comment as we go along.
I think
we're not having a technical.
We seem to be having a little bit of technical difficulties, so why don't we postpone this, George? And
okay. Well, I'll move ahead with this.
All right, that's a good one.
eBay is a wonderful source of material, particularly when the other people don't know what it's all about. A while back, I saw a very interesting picture come on eBay. I don't know whether we can get in on that or not. That is the heart. It's like Griesemersville. I remember years ago when I first was interested in local history, I asked somebody, where is Griesemersville? And the fellow who was there at the corner, before that house was built, it was a cornfield there, and he said, you see that big building over there? I said, yes. He said, that's Griesemersville. Well, here's another one. Do we have that? This is the heart of Schlemville.
Schlemville?
How do you spell that?
You've known it any place.
Yes, Schlemville, which was actually named for Dr. Schlem, who had a very interesting history. I was doing some research on that today. I never heard of him before. I mean, I heard of Schlemville because of my interest in old-time one-room schoolhouses. Can we get in on that for 1 second? This picture was taken, I think, in 1909. There's a little kid up front with a blackboard, and it says Schlemville, December something or other, 1909. And that is, I counted the kids, there are 30 kids there, from first grade up to about 8th grade level, but that's the schoolhouse. Now, I have a question for the home viewers. Does anyone know whether this building at Slemville still stands? Dr. C.H. Slem, he spelled it with 2 M's, donated the land. He lived in a house right off the corner. And I was checking some atlases today and checking the 1902 topographical map of Berks County, which does show the which shows the town of Slemville, and it does show the location of the schoolhouse. I went checking on a modern atlas, and all of a sudden the road disappeared. I strongly suspect that the good people at Evansville Cement Company might know something about this place. It seems to have disappeared. If anyone knows anything about Slemville, please give us a call. Give us a call and tell us what you know about this place. I have a feeling, although I could be dead wrong, that maybe the building doesn't survive anymore.
Say again what part of the county it was in, George?
Well, I'll tell you. They built, in 1927, they built a 4-room consolidated building back near that golf course. Is that Rich Maiden? What is that? Yeah, Richmond Maiden Creek. The Rich Maiden Golf Course. Yeah. Back from west of sort of Kirbyville. And that, it's not quite as far as Kirbyville, but in that general section. When they built the new consolidated building, a 4-room building, they closed the old 1-room school at Molltown, Evansville, and Slemville.
So it was there on that road?
It was all of them were within 0.9 miles.
Would that have had a post office?
No. No. The only one that had a post office that I know of was Evansville. Well, Moulton had a post office too, but this did. Slemville was a schoolhouse.
One building. Might have our answer, George.
Yes, a home viewer. Yes, home viewer. Home viewer, you're on.
Yes, hi.
Hi.
I had a couple of questions of the Reading area here. On 11th and Court, there's remnants of stores there. I just wanted to know if you knew what they were.
At 11th and Court?
Yes, in the on Court Street.
On the left-hand side, well, there was a place back there that used to manufacture high-grade automobile paint. Unfortunately, the woman died of lung cancer. But that used to be on the left-hand side, on the north side going up. By the way, right near there was Tommy Collins, the famous Tommy Collins. Yes. His house was the last regular house before you get to 11th, and there's a for sale sign on it right now. Anyhow, that place was right beyond there, and those things, you say the remnants, virtually all those things have been taken away, but they manufactured, I bought special paint for one of my cars there. It was very high-grade metallic automobile paint was manufactured there.
Okay, yeah, because there's still windows there of a store back there. That's why I had asked.
Well, there was a store there, and the front of it would have faced 11th Street.
Yeah, and also there's a jewelry store called Tip Top Jewelry Store. Have you ever heard of that? Tip Top? Yes. Where was that located at?
You have me.
I had bought a jewelry case on eBay, and it said Tip Top Jewelry Store from Reading.
No indication of address?
The only thing it said was 9th Street.
Oh. Well, you know, 9th Street at one time was a very busy shopping center, I mean, a shopping area. There were a number of jewelry stores along there. Most of those jewelry stores were between Penn and Walnut. So my best guess is that it would be either between Penn and Walnut. If I were making a wild guess, I'd say it was on the west side between those two. You remember close by there was the Penn Doctor. Remember the Penn Doctor?
I do remember.
Remember the Penn Doctor? Yes. Whenever you needed a new bladder for your pen, that was the place to go. He specialized in high-grade bladders for fountain pens.
Oh. Wow. And then just one more question. It was about Zips. Candy store down on Court?
Yeah, what about Zips?
I see this, the sign is still up. Whatever happened to them?
Zips. They had a beautiful store. I remember the ceiling in Zips on Penn Street. Were they above they were above 9th, between 9th and 10th, I think, on the north side. They had a beautiful store. They had a beautiful store there. One time I found a recipe for summer ginger cooler, and I had to have, oh my God, this was 40 years ago, Canton ginger, and I called everybody under the sun for Canton ginger, which looks like stringy, heavy lubricating fluid. And the only place in Berks County that had Canton ginger in a rusty can was Zips on Penn Street on the north side between 9th and 10th. That was a very beautiful store. You remember that beautiful
Did they have a Tiffany window?
Well, no, but it was very pretty glass.
All right.
Anyhow, make a long story short, I bought the only can that they had of I bought the only existing can of Canton ginger in Berks County, took it home. I had to cook it, strain it through some sort of cloth, mix it with lemons and oranges and everything else. And after about 4 hours, it finally dawned on me, George, you've made ginger ale without the fizz.
Yeah, because their sign is still on Court Street. It says
yeah, the back. They used to load from the back. Yeah.
Yeah.
So that's
okay. Well, thanks, guys.
You're welcome.
If you have a chance in the library and archives, we have some tremendous comprehensive business directories.
Yes.
They'll take a little sleuthing, but you could research through those, see if you could find an address for Tip Top.
Yeah, sure. Do you have any idea what date?
What was that? Did it have address at Tip Top? 9? Oh, it said 124.
Oh, well, that's easy. Okay.
9th Street, was it 9th Street? Yeah, 124 9th Street.
And you can search those directories by either location or by business name.
Between Washington and Walnut. Yep. That's my case.
Okay.
Yep.
All right, guys.
You bet.
And ladies, thanks.
Thank you.
See you. Lady. Okay.
We're good to go?
I believe...
the computer gods have smiled on us yet again.
Yes, and again, we're waiting eagerly for your feedback on Schlemville. Please give us a call. Well, maybe have some pictures here, Joshua. Handsome picture. There was, quite a number of years ago, a house over near Pleasantville. When you take the Ole Turnpike and you cross the covered bridge right near the end of the Ole Turnpike as you approach Pleasantville, the old toll house still sits on the corner, somewhat modified for modern living. You'd make a sharp turn there and go back maybe 5 city blocks, and there was a residence that for many, many years was the Yoder Hawes Lechner house. Stanley Lechner was the last resident there, who was something of a farmer, very avid reader. And do we have a picture of his residence? It was a very unusual house architecturally.
Sloping.
Do you remember that?
No, I don't.
Don't you really? It would be when you crossed the covered bridge, you made a sharp right, and you were heading, let me see, you were heading eastward. And it would be on the south side, heading eastward 5 blocks from the covered bridge. I remember you couldn't drive by there, especially at night, without being aware of its presence. It had a rather eerie appearance at nighttime. And he did love his farm animals. As a matter of fact, he had chickens in the kitchen and whatever. But it was a very interesting property. There was an old barn to the immediate left of those 2 structures that you see there. And I don't know when he stopped doing farming, but I became interested in the Ole Valley about 1960, and there was a little bit going on there. I have a feeling that by the next decade there wasn't really... You don't remember that place, Boots?
No,
is it still there?
My sister would, but I don't.
No. No. Yes. He died in my goodness. He died in 1956 at the age of 75. That was Samuel Lechner. No, that was his dad. Okay, so he did have it on more. Here it said, and I'm looking at some of my notes, he never married. By the way, in looking at some of the old newspaper articles, he was a really brilliant student at Ole High School. He was a chess champion. He was involved with all sorts and sporting activities. He was an incredible kid. But he never married. He was well educated. And apparently he died at the age of 75. I didn't realize it was as recently as 1994, but I did do some checking on that and found an obituary. By 1994, that picture I think I took in 72, the summer of 72. So nothing was done between the summer of 72 and his death in 94. So by 94, it needed more than several coats of paint. His nephew took down the building. You drive by there today, there is no vestige whatever of anything ever having been on that site. Not a tree stump, absolutely clear land. So that is, by the way, Stanley Elwood Lechner was born in 1918 during the First World War. The next picture, please.
Wow.
I like that.
Oh, well, I'm sure some of us remember this. I remember that I do. When I was a kid, I lived in the northwest section of Reading, and I would ride my little rolly bicycle down Schuylkill Avenue, turn left at the Showboat, cross Bushong's covered bridge, make a right-hand turn, and I would wind up there along the Tully. And this was the Keystone Bungalow overlooking the Tulpehocken Creek.
Wow.
There was a big tree. Remember that sign? There was
I don't
a big,
remember
big
that
tree.
one. I remember the bungalows.
Well, there was a big tree. Well, that was the big one. There was a big tree over here on the right-hand side with a rope, and the kids used to go up there and swing out into the Tully. The Tully used to have
not that deep there, is it?
No, it wasn't all that deep. You're right.
Someone standing on the left.
Yeah.
But they could swim there, and there were a lot of Tulpehocken swims in there. They were always giving out prizes, especially the Keystone Bungalow. They had their own little bevy of champion swimmers, and they would.
We might have some trophies from swimming contests there.
Really?
Sounds familiar.
Well, they had the river swim, and
That was river swim.
that was
from
Schuylkill River swim.
Yeah, that was from Haynes.
Where would this, George, if you go across, you would have gone when Bushong's was there,
Yeah.
and you took a right,
Yep.
and so you're going up the Tulpehocken. Would that have been where the West Shore bypass is?
No, what's that? Is the Tulpehocken Road that runs along the creek?
Yeah,
Where Penn State Berks?
Okay.
not that far up.
Not that far.
Huh.
That's still there, and you could approach it from this side yet. If you go, let me see, how do you do that? You can get, I was there recently with Richard Speck, my good friend from high school days. We went there. Now, if you go there today, it doesn't look quite the same, because what happened was, over the course of time, they needed more room inside the clubhouse. It was originally affiliated with the Keystone Firemen, with the Reading Fire Association, and they enclosed that beautiful front porch. And they enclosed the front porch, and then you lost that beautiful vista from sitting up there. And in the interim, they allowed trees to grow between the building and the creek. So you go by there today, and you can't even see it anymore from this side of the Tully.
So is it upstream from where the Warren Street bypass crosses
Yes.
over? Okay. Not quite as far as the Stoltzfus house, or isn't that
Beyond.
Oh, so it's further up.
Further up from the Stoltzfus house, yeah. From the Stoltzfus house, 6 blocks, 5 blocks.
Okay.
Well, that was a very popular place to swim,
beautiful.
because when I was there, I used to watch the big kids swim, and it was a really busy place.
Huh.
A really busy place. You had to be very careful. There was a lot of broken glass at that particular spot, and you had to be very, very careful. The next picture, please. I think we've moved down to Boyertown, and we're seeing Dr. What page is that? Dr. John Henry Funk. Dr. John Henry Funk was the state pomologist, a brilliant man. He was, for a short time, the Burgess of Boyertown. He was a graduate of medical school, and an honest-to-goodness medical school. He wasn't one of those fellows who took a course and worked under a physician for 6 weeks. He was a really fine medical man, and I think he graduated from Penn State, in point of fact. And he became very much interested in any number of things, but particularly in growing fruit. He wrote a pamphlet that is still considered one of the prime sources of information on fruit. Some people from Eastern Berks will surely know about the Funk orchards.
Yeah, I do.
They went defunct in more recent. Excuse me. So much for a play. They went.
Well done.
They went defunct a number of years back. Our good friend John Henry Funk was his grandson.
Okay.
And as a matter of fact, take away the beard, and they bore a strong resemblance. He was a brilliant man, and there's a section in the book. May I have the next picture, please? On him. That is he in that. I showed you that picture.
Yes,
I think,
you did.
and you commented on his horse. He wrote a state publication, I think about 1903 or 1905. Again, that is still considered one of the prime sources of information on fruit growing in the northern part of the United States. For a short time, he was living in Florida because he wanted to see what could be cultivated, what they had there that he could modify in some way and bring it up north and have it grow up here. And he was very successful. He was really a scientific fruit grower. but of course he was aided considerably by his knowledge of chemistry and of various preparations, some of which he made himself, and he was a very successful fruit grower. The next. That's a neat picture. Yeah. That is Sinking Spring. That's along Penn Avenue. What number is that?
It's hard to tell.
Oh, okay. Somehow or another. Oh, okay. That's on Penn Avenue, Sinking Spring. The post office would be over here on the right-hand side. Here on this side, on this corner, what's there today? There was a florist in the first floor. Things sort of come and go. They tore that building down. They tore that building down and they put up a modern building that occupies about that same amount of space that you see. This was Heckman's Motor Car Company. It would be the southeast corner of Penn Avenue and Woodrow Avenue. Yeah, that's correct. Southeast corner of Penn Avenue and Woodrow Avenue.
Oh, I know where the church is right across the street.
Yeah. Church is across the street.
Isn't it?
Well, yeah, it's close, sure. Yeah, the Reformed Church. Yeah. What happened was this building was torn down about 1925. That Heckman moved operations into Reading. As a matter of fact, he had a number of places where he sold cars. There's a neat story in there about how they would go out to Detroit and bring cars back. It's a rather interesting story. Anyhow, the building was torn down, and about 1925, and what's there today occupies that very same site. But I'm sure the post office is over here on the right-hand side.
What type of cars are those, George?
He specialized in a number of cars. He was selling Oakland and Maxwell's.
What's the Fisk thing? There's Fisk. Underneath.
Fisk. Time to read. Fisk tires.
Oh, okay.
Time to retire. Remember Fisk? With the little kid with the candle.
Yeah.
And he has like his little blanket. His nightgown on. Yeah.
Speaking of tires, I don't know if those of you at home have a high-definition TV and can see this. If you look under accessories and storage, there's like 24 or so tires standing upright.
Yeah.
In the middle of the photo, right underneath the Oakland and Maxwell sign. You can see them standing right up there in the window.
He sold quite a number of automobile varieties over the course of time, but there's a really neat. By the way, the Stitzer apartments are on that site today. I just happened to see some notes on that. The next one.
Pretty.
Oh, this was near and dear to my heart because I drove by there any number of times. I had a good friend who taught with me who lived on the road to State Hill. The road to State Hill, after you leave the Berkshire Mall and you're heading up State Hill, before you begin to really climb and make that hard turn, over on the right-hand side was the Adams, A-D-D-A-M-S apostrophe, the Adams store. There was a post office, Adams store, post office, Adams store, general store, and Adams store hotel, or Adams Hotel. It was one of those 3-in-1 like you had in the country years ago. You had a post office, a general store, and a hotel. It was a rather handsome building. Now, this picture does not do it justice, and I'm sure there are people watching who remember this particular structure. On the right-hand side, as you would sort of, right before you get to the steep part where it begins to climb, that was a very, very handsome stable building they had there, because all the old hotels had a stable of some sort. The woodwork on there was really spectacular. Even at the end, that was rather spectacular. May I have the next picture, please? This is one that I took in the latter days. When did I probably took that in the 70s. It was. Let me see, when did he... It was, according to some research that I did, and this was a hard one to pin down, it was established prior to the Civil War. The same people who ran this, the Adams family, who ran this, also had the old hotel on the far end of Leesport. What's that manor? Indian Manor Hotel at the far end of Leesport. It would be on the west side. The next picture, please. I remember. Okay, let's take a little break, and then when we come back, I believe it's your turn or Simon's turn. Somebody's turn. All right, we take a little break.
You're watching the Historical Society of Berks County on hsbctv.org. Be informed, be involved, be a member. For membership information, go to www.bctv.org/support/membership. For other information on local heritage societies and local history, go to bctv.org. The Historical Society of Berks County on bctv.org is underwritten by the Highlands. To find out how you and your business can support a program on BCTV, go to bctv.org.
Oh, well, okay, we'll do this one yet. This is at 662 and Ole Turnpike Road, right on the corner. That is, let me see, what family built that? Boots, do you know? The Bertland family. 1782. I gave you a singer. 1782. I think that was a Peter. Was it Casper or Peter Bertland house? A very handsome building, and surprisingly, and thank goodness. By the way, I just came across another photograph in my files, which I didn't realize I had. A close-up view of that wonderful iron fence that was on two sides. That was a beautiful iron fence. I might use that picture in the next book.
I wonder what those racks are for on the right-hand side. There's some racks.
I don't know, that might have been to train ivy or something like that, or grapes. There were a lot of...
They almost look metal.
Yeah, catch pen, I think, for cattle or
really?
livestock.
I really can't see that.
At least in front of the barn. I don't know about the ones in front.
I don't know about
There's some right here.
Like that. Those two, I don't know what they are. The ones in the back look like they might...
Anyhow, it's a rather handsome building, and the people who own it now are really very sorry that that iron fence. I remember when a truck hit that and really made a mess out of it.
And they had several hitching posts in front
Yeah, they did. Yeah, they had hitching posts. In fact, they show there a close-up. You can see those. I think the next picture might give us a more modern view.
Oh.
That's it.
Yeah. Nice. That's beautiful.
That's a handsome home.
It really is. Still has the porches, thank goodness.
I told a fib. That was a Griesemer house.
All right, George.
Yeah, sorry about that. It just dawned on me. Now, wait a minute. I was going to comment that the old Griesemersville Hotel is on the right-hand side of that, and that the Griesemers one time had 1,000 acres in that general proximity. Everything was owned by a Griesemer. Sorry, I threw you. Anyhow, let's take a little break at this point. And Sam, I believe you have something to tell us.
Yeah, I would like to talk about something, an upcoming event at the Historical Society. It's going to be this year, or this weekend, November 6th. 2010, is probably the most popular youth education program that the Historical Society puts on every year. One of them, anyway. And this is put on by the Historical Society with the generous support from the Gerald Lynn Foundation, and it's our annual My Great-Great-Grandparents' House. Vicki Hefner started this, if you can believe it, 13 years ago. Again, it takes place this coming Saturday, November 6th, from 10 a.m. to 3 p.m. It's at the Historical Society's main location at 940 Center Avenue at the crossroads of Center Avenue and Spring Street. And it's an event, an interactive event that all the kids can take part in. It's suitable for ages 2 through 12, and it features family activities that would have taken place in a home in Berks County's past. This year is a first for the Historical Society because we're examining those activities that would have taken place during the colonial era. We've never done this before. So you're going to have a lot of really neat activities. One of them, I think is kind of the coolest thing, is the quill pen writing. And so you'll have, and I wish I had something to demonstrate here, because you're going to have the quill pens just like they used to use, dip them in the ink with the blotter to take off any excess. The kids will be able to write with the quill pen. They'll get to be able to use the sand to blot up and absorb the wet ink and be able to take that home with them. So that's going to be one of the activities. You're also going to have making spool and bead ornaments that the Anglos in Berks County at that period would have used to hang on the Christmas trees. The Germanics would have hung them on doors or on windows. Also going to be making straw wreaths, which are a very nice holiday decoration that they'll be able to hang on their Christmas tree. You also have things like the old-time cup and ball toy that people used to make. They're going to make, in keeping with the Native American tradition, they're going to be making a rain stick, so that'll be interesting. And things like they're going to be measuring ingredients to make cornbread, and they're also going to be making potato candy. I don't know how good that sounds, but they used it.
How much sugar?
I've never had it.
Oh,
It is.
Yeah. I don't know whether they're going to mix peanut butter in. Sometimes they mix peanut butter in, and it's really good.
No kidding.
Mix a little peanut butter in the potato. My aunt used to make that all the time when I was a kid.
I was taping a segment for Comcast to promote this event, and
take a handful of peanut butter, mix it with that, and it's delicious.
Well, when I told her about Jill Horner about potato, she had no idea. But anyway, so it's really
come and find out.
Come and find out. It's a great. It's really a wonderful event for the kids. Again, appropriate for children 2 through 12. They must be accompanied by an adult. And what's even more interesting is, again, we're going through the. This is going to be the 13th annual My Great Great Grandparents, and I tease Vicki that pretty soon, within the next year or two, we're going to be celebrating, and we're going to be welcoming the second generation of my great-grandparents.
13 years.
Yeah, 13 years. So, second generation. We've got to figure out something that we can do as far as, I don't know, a special prize or something for the first, second generation kid that comes through there. But again, this weekend, November 6th, 2010, from 10 a.m. to 3 p.m. It's a free event. Come one, come all. And I think we have a home viewer. Is that correct?
Yes, sir.
There you go.
Just a quickie question. Years ago, down at the bottom of the hill there in West Reading, remember it was called Siemens Mill Supplies?
Yes, on the left hand, on the north side.
No, that would have been on the south side, George.
On the south side. Siemens, I remember Siemens Mill Supply.
As you're going up the hill, it's on your left. That would be the south.
I remember for a while there was a Tombstone place, both there and over at Lancaster Avenue. I remember, you're up farther.
I'm down at the bottom of the hill. It was called Siemens Mill
You're talking
Supplies.
about second and Penn Avenue.
Yes, sir.
Okay, that's sort of up from the bottom of the hill. Yeah, that was on the left-hand side. Now, the interesting thing about that Siemens Mill Supply, that stone building, that they keep getting new tenants in there. Do you know what's interesting about that building? All the Buick station wagons that were made, like between 1905 and 1908, all those wooden bodies were made in that. One time I had a fella come from somewhere out west who is a Buick enthusiast and writes about various kinds of different models of Buicks, and he came specifically to see this building at 2nd and Penn Avenue because all the wooden-bodied station wagons that Buick made, I think between 1905 and 1908, were made in that building.
See, now you're answering my question, because see, after Siemens Mill Supplies moved out, the Horrigan family bought it, and they called it the Business Outlet.
Yes.
And that was about, maybe they were there 10, 12 years, and I used to do business with them. And I was always curious, George, as to what that building had been, because there's a lot of markings on the walls in the basement with the brick floor.
Yes.
That it had something to do with automobiles, but for the life of me, everybody I asked, nobody knew anything about it. So I thought, hey, I'd give you a call.
Well, you did right.
Thank you very much, sir.
You're welcome. That's my specialty. Useless trivia. Anyhow.
Answering the question before we ask.
That's right. Yeah, I try to anticipate absolutely every possibility. Anyhow, Simon, is there anything else you want to tell us about?
Well, we want to definitely talk about Passing Scene 18 and the autograph parties, that's for sure. Yeah, like I said, George says that the Passing Scene is at the printers, and it should be here very, very shortly. We're going to have, this year, we're going to have 2 autograph signing sessions. George made a comment the other night. He said after he signed the 1,800...
One day we signed 1,800 books.
Yeah, that's not a party. Okay, it might be for you all, but for George, that's a lot of work. But anyway, we always look forward to this. We're going to have 2 autograph sessions. The first one is going to be on Saturday, the 20th of November. George is going to be at the Historical Society, and he's going to be doing a program on Passing Scene, on the compilation of Passing Scene 18, and that's going to happen from 10 to about noon, okay? plenty of time for questions and answers. So we'll have it that day, and then we're going to break for an hour for lunch, and then we're going to have the autograph session on the 20th from 1 p.m. to 4 p.m., and you can come get your Passing Scene Volume 18 or any of the other ones that you don't have signed by George and Gloria that day. And we're going to repeat it the next Saturday, which I believe is the 27th. And on that Saturday, we are going to be opening up at 9 o'clock, which is normally time that we open. And George and Gloria are going to be signing books on the 27th of November from 9 a.m. to noon, break for lunch, and then come back at 1 o'clock for the second part of the session, which is going to take place from 1 p.m. to 4 p.m. So you need to mark your calendars for that. If you want to get your book signed, those are the 2 days to do it.
And if you can't get there either one of those Saturdays, the books will be available the Tuesday after the first signing, so the 23rd, 24th, the Tuesday of the next week, regular hours 9 to 4. Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, and then the following Saturday, the 27th, we will be there again to sign books.
But be aware, for Thanksgiving, we'll be closed all day Wednesday and all day Thursday, so Tuesday will be the only day.
Oh, that's right.
Or you can come in on Black Friday.
Well, let me ask you a question, George. I don't want to put you on the spot, but we also, and there probably won't be any books left, we hope not anyway, but we also have the Handel Holiday Boutique as part of Center Park's holiday tour. And
we can do that.
Okay, now George says he's going to be there that day. Let me just check my calendar here. I think that is on the, what is that, the 12th, Josh?
12th. Should be, I believe it's the 12th.
12th? Okay. The 12th of December, and that'll be from 1 p.m. to 6 p.m. So if you have any books that you need to get signed then, you can do it then.
Looks like we have our third home viewer of the night.
Home viewer, yes, home viewer.
You're on, home viewer.
Yes, George.
Yes.
That Seaman Mill Supplies, isn't that where the former Himmelberger Wagon Works used to be?
Right.
Well, there were 3 Himmelberger Wagon Works. There were 3. Initially, it was right when you crossed the Penn Street, the old bridge, on the right-hand side. Then they moved across the street, but not as far up, sort of in the general area. Remember where Kaiser Shears used to be?
Okay.
Kitty Kaiser, the Kaiser family used to make shears that were sold all over the world. They sold most of them in Australia. That was on the other side of the street. And then they moved. Himmelberger's last place was a huge frame building. That would have been on 2nd Street, about 2 blocks south on 2nd. There's a coal yard there today. I guess there was a coal yard there. I'm retired. I keep forgetting. I retired a couple of years back. But when I was still working over at West Reading, there's a coal yard back in there, about 2 blocks south of Penn Avenue. I think is it 2nd or is it? I guess it's 3rd. Yeah, back on 3rd. Where that coal yard was where the Himmelberger Wagon Works was.
And then didn't it burn down then?
Yes.
It burned down then.
Mm-hmm.
Yes. Okay, I just thought I'd ask that question.
Sure.
Okay, thank you very much.
You're welcome.
Bye.
Bye-bye.
George, you want to do it now? We do have to talk, mention the library closing.
Go ahead.
Okay. We're really fortunate at the Henry Janssen Library. About a year ago, we were awarded a grant, and we also received a very generous gift from a private benefactor to install high-density shelving in the Henry Janssen Library. We're going to do this in what we call the stack room. It's on the 1st floor, and this will allow us to increase our capacity for storage at the Janssen Library by about 70 to 80%. It really is significant. So we'll be able to bring so much of the material that we have downstairs, upstairs, and have more readily accessible for those and be able to make it available to the citizens of Berks County. But in order to do that, we're going to have to install this shelving. And that's a big job. So we're going to be closing the library. Let me get my glasses. I've got to read this one. Normally, I take this off the cuff. But Kimberly Richards, our Director of Library and Archives, said that we're going to be closing the library on November 13th. That's Saturday at 4 p.m. And the library will remain closed for the rest of the month through December, and probably won't reopen until sometime in January, the first, I would say a week or two in January if everything goes well. This is a big project, so unfortunately we're going to have to be closed that time, and we don't want anybody coming to the Historical Society with the intentions of doing research without letting you know. If you forget the dates that I just mentioned, you can go to our website. It'll be on the website telling you the exact days that we're going to be closed, and you can find out there. So I just want to let you know about that.
It's a really big project because they have to take absolutely every book off the shelves and then re-shelve. That's going to really be a job because they're going to be bringing things in and intermixing them with those that were there before. That's a major undertaking.
And they got to make sure that they take it off the shelves in the exact order.
In the exact order, right.
Back on the shelves in the exact order. So, Kimberly, let me read this other thing. She said, if you're considering making a donation to the library, we respectfully ask that you wait until the library reopens in January. We are very interested in your donations. However, with the shelving project, we'll not have the room for processing or staging these new donations. So please check our website or visit us on our Facebook page for more information regarding this, regarding the project. So
it's a major undertaking, and it'll make people's visits to the library more convenient because things will be more readily accessible.
And a lot more material readily accessible.
A lot more material readily accessible. Correct. Anything, Joshua?
Home viewer.
Home viewer. Yes, home viewer.
I'm going back to the potato candy.
Yes.
The way we made it, you cook a potato and then you mash it, and you keep adding powdered sugar until it gets very stiff. Then you take that and you roll it out like a pie crust. You take peanut butter and you spread that over it.
That's
then you roll it like a jelly roll.
That's right. Exactly. I forgot that.
So no, I never heard of just mixing it in with the sugar and potato.
Well, you're talking to a very hungry person who loves peanut butter. But you know what? We appreciate your calling and giving us that because that's exactly how my aunt made it.
Yes. Okay.
We appreciate that. Thanks for calling.
You're welcome. Bye-bye.
Have it on too good authority.
Yeah, absolutely.
All right.
So there is potato.
Vicky's recipe is.
Is that it for the home view? Oh, okay. Yep. Anything else, Simon?
Just our second Saturday coming up for November. That's going to be held on the 13th, Saturday, November 13th. Refreshments at 9:30 a.m. Program starts at 10 o'clock. We're going to be hosting Dr. Carl Constein, and he's going to be delivering the program on flying the hump. It's called Born to Fly the Hump. And Dr. Constein was one of the hump pilots during World War II. And for any of you who are knowledgeable about military aviation history, that was a big deal. My father flew the hump, and that was probably one of the most dangerous assignments you could have in World War II. You didn't have a problem with really too many of the enemy fighters, but it was just that the weather was so bad that they lost more pilots in that operation than just about any other place. So anyway, come by and visit.
What's that date again, Simon?
That would be Saturday, November 13th. Refreshments at 9:30. Program starts at 10. Probably run to 11 with questions and answers afterwards.
Very good. Can you pull in on this? Is that possible? This particular one, I wanted to show this page. Okay. Sometimes people ask, well, how can you possibly have 366 pictures with 272 pages? And the answer is, I love having those insets. Because when you have the insets, now, the top picture shows the log cabin as it existed 70-some years ago. That's a very... Thousands and thousands drive by there daily, and they don't realize it's a log cabin. The gentleman on... Okay, that's what it looks like today on the left. It's right across from the Central Catholic practice stadium. At the stadium, there's like a practice field next to it, closer to Jackson Wald. And when you pass by that practice field, you're right across from that log cabin. That's what it looks like today in the lower left. And up at the top is how it looked years. Actually, that was a long time ago. And the other picture showed the thing, I think, was it like 1935, is what it looked like. Anyhow, this is one of the landmarks in the Jackson Wold area. Actually, I was corrected by a realtor who told me, someone told me that that was right on the dividing line between Jackson Wold, which would be in Exeter Township, and formerly Esterly, St. Lawrence Borough. It is entirely in St. Lawrence Borough, they tell me, right across from the from the Catholic Stadium. That is called the Levan Log Cabin, and it indeed is Levan. It's 4137 St. Lawrence Avenue. So the north side of St. Lawrence Avenue, opposite the practice field for the Central Catholics High School, and the exact age of the thing is uncertain. There's something really cute that goes with this. I was given a survey that was done years ago on this property. I think it was done somewhere around 1907. And the person who did the survey was John Dengler from Ole.
Was he really?
Yes, who was a well-known, he taught 54 terms, I think, in Ole, and also taught at the Ole Academy many years ago. I think he held the record for the number of terms taught in Berks County. They used to have a bronze marker to his memory in Ole High School. You went to Ole High, didn't you?
No, I did not.
Didn't you? Okay, Ole High, there was a marker on the wall. Anyhow, he did the survey, and he did a beautiful job. It's a masterpiece. You could frame it and hang it on the wall. The cost of the survey, I love this, was $3, which included trolley fare from Ole. But it's an absolute work of art. Anyhow,
I've driven by that many times, and I was always sure it was a log cabin.
Absolutely.
So now you confirmed
that is the log cabin. It's a really neat picture. Joshua, can you put that back on again just for 1 second? Okay, that's what it looks like. You drive, now the picket fence is gone. And the fellow who lives there now, Reading policeman, I believe, just built a swimming pool behind it. And here on the left-hand side, he generally pulls his truck up and parks it there. But that is definitely a log cabin.
Home viewer.
We have a home viewer. Yes, home viewer. Home viewer, you're on.
I want to say tonight that it is absolutely amazing that we can bring this stuff up so many hundreds of years later or 100 years later. You know, I would say that, you know, in my family, the Schlegels was a big family in the Ole Valley, and the Herbines, the other side of the family, is a very instrumental part of Berks County. You know, and there's many extending families out from that, the Scherers, the Art people, and the Highs. And it's amazing to see all of this stuff as a history in front of me be presented on this show tonight.
Well, the nice thing is, if you descend from the Herbines, you're a lucky person. Have you ever visited that the Herbine Cemetery off the Ole Turnpike, back there near where they quarry for limestone?
Yes,
on mine, I guess
that's the Ole Line Road, I believe.
No, Mine Road sort of follows it a little bit, and that's the road. I don't know what the other. Oh, it's Beaver Mill Road.
Beaver Mill Road, yes.
Back on Beaver Mill Road, you turn left. There's a farm down in there, and you go down that farm, and behind the barn, there's a Herbine Cemetery. Surprising.
That's correct, yes.
Did you ever check to see how long those people lived in that cemetery? How long they lived, the people who are buried there?
A long time ago, and actually the Ritters, which was a printing family, was involved in that.
The Ritters lived on the other side of the Ole Turnpike, off Limekill Road. Yeah, because the first press was made in the blacksmith shop on one of those Ritter properties. But those Herbines were surprising. For as long ago as they died at a very advanced age, which is surprising to have that many people live that long at that time.
Yes.
If you ever get down that way, check the cemetery sometime. It's really worth seeing.
Oh, absolutely. I know the family history, and it's a very long and illustrious
yes, it is.
History in Berks County.
Did you ever hear of Urban Herbine, whose dad taught that schoolhouse, sometimes called the NAB, or the Herbine School, there at Beaver Mill Road and Ole Turnpike? Did you ever hear of Irvin?
Right, that's back. There's a crossroads there.
Yes, that double schoolhouse that stands there. He was Berks County's preeminent pyrologist. I interviewed him back in the 70s. Very, very interesting man. Did wonderful work. And he's the only man that I ever met who saw Thomas Edison's film crew when they came in 1907 to make a movie on the Ole Turnpike at Black Bear Hill. Irvin S. Herbine.
God. Yes.
Okay, thank you for calling.
Thank you very much. Thank you.
What do we have, Joshua? Oh, you show that picture to them.
Oh, the modern.
Sure. Yeah, that's the way the building looks today. They added on the front, and I'm told that about a decade or so ago there was a problem. See, if you didn't have enough of a foundation under a log building, you had termite problems develop. Well, they had termite problems develop, so they had to jack the place up and put in some new supports. Whenever you read somewhere in a newspaper that a log cabin was built in 1710 or whatever, and you look at it and it has no stone foundation, you know that someone's telling a story. Because if you didn't have a 15 or an 18-inch stone foundation in a log cabin, it didn't last all that long because the termites really made mincemeat out of your abode. Anyhow, let's see, what's the next picture there? Maybe we have time for maybe one more. Okay, that's a neat story.
I wouldn't want to miss that.
That's a neat story for the next time. Ben Laub, the Blue Mountain Hermit. Very, very interesting man who lived basically without much heat and never married. And
no wonder.
For a few cents, he would get on a picture with you, and I've seen a number of group pictures where people paid him to get on the picture, and they never stand that close to him, and I could never understand why. Anyhow, that's Ben Laub, the Blue Mountain Hermit, and you will be hearing that story next time. Tell your friends about our program, which is on live the first Wednesday of each month at 7. It repeats Friday night at 10, Saturday at 6, and Sunday morning at 9 a.m. Thanks to today's program associates, Simon Bertlett, Boots Fair, Joshua. I'm George Miser, your host. We look forward to having you join us again on the first Wednesday of December. Look for us. So long.
That's good.
Well, yeah, right. You always forget that. Good night. Good night.
The Historical Society on BCTV is supported in part by the Highlands at Wyomissing.